Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call this meeting to order, this meeting for the Commission committee meetings of September the 8th. Let me read this little disclosure and disclaimer first. Out of an abundance of caution, the Macon-Bibb County Commission committee meeting scheduled for Tuesday, September the 8th, 2020 at 9:00 a.m. will be available to the Macon-Bibb County Commissioners by video conference. The commission chambers will be closed to the public and press in order to slow the spread of COVID-19. Therefore, the public and press may only access the meeting simultaneously online at www.maconbibb.us or www.facebook.com/Macon-Bibb County. With that having been said, we've got a busy day ahead of us. We've got committee of the whole meetings or committee of the whole to start off at 9, economic and community development at 10, we hope, or as soon thereafter as we can get to it. 10:30 facilities and engineering, and 11:30 hopefully operations and finance. We'll get to those individual committee meetings as quickly and expeditiously as we have. It looks to me like we've got Commissioner Allen, Commissioner Lucas, Commissioner Schlesinger, Commissioner Shepard, Commissioner Watkins, and Commissioner Wynn on the line with us at this point, and I count for a quorum as well. So we've got in excess of a quorum. Therefore, I'd like to call this meeting of the Committee of the Whole to order and say that the first item of business on our agenda is the approval of the minutes before I forget them. So the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting of August the 25th have been prepared and distributed. Are there any changes or corrections to those minutes? And if not, can I get a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Got Schlesinger and the second by Lucas. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it and the minutes are approved. Next, we've got several updates that we wanted to give to you because we know that you're going to be interested in. The first is by our tax commissioner regarding alcohol and business licenses. I think Commissioner McCord is on the line with us. Wade, you there?
Yes, sir. I'm here. Thank you so much for having me this morning. Good morning to you and to the commissioners.
On.
I think, Rachel, have you got something to share? And we'll start this.
I do. I've got it pulled up now. If y'all bear with me for 1 second, I will get it full screen.
Okay. While Rachel is preparing that to share, just to let you know that you all approved a support for a subsequent tax sale. That's properties that I was unable to sell at a traditional tax sale. And these properties will be put back up for public auction. And I wanted to let you know that I made that list available August the 1st. And as of right now, I have over 200 of the 700 properties in the pipeline to go through the judicial in-rem process, which means at the end of the day, when someone makes their final bid, for the property, the highest bidder would be getting a limited warranty deed within 5 days of the confirmation of their payment. So that is huge, huge news with the blight process. So hearing that, just to give you an update on what's going on with business and alcohol licensing transition. Next slide, please. You all approved this, and what our goals that we wanted to do was to streamline the process. We wanted to gain efficiencies through technology. As you can read on here, we wanted to offer the taxpayers or our customers more convenient application processes and payment processes. And by doing so, we've gone forward basically since July 1st. And during that time frame, we will start we've gone through everything we need to go through to get everything ready. You'll be hearing more of that later on when Michael McNeil, the county attorney, brings forward some resolution changes, just clean up, if you will, for the code. And we will start looking at initial and renewal applications for alcohol license beginning October 1st of 2020. And then we will assume full responsibility for initial and renewal of applications for general business licenses beginning January 1st of 2021. So in a few short months. going to be able to do that. Next slide, please. We've had some challenges. One is our current vendor, Tyler Technologies, which has a county-wide solution to a lot of different processes for the county, software-wise. In no uncertain terms, they refused to integrate with our payment processor. In other words, they did not want to work with us to go for online applications and online payments. It took them about 6.5 to 7 weeks to finally give us a confirmation that they would not work with us, which was really disheartening. During this time, we found that there's many inconsistencies with system use, and processing has resulted in questionable data. End result, as far as we can see, is that we've produced, as of last week, an unpaid renewal report of 3,150 delinquent records for a total of 1.3 million. You might as well say 1.4 million if you round. So that's where we are right now. Next slide, please. The company, what we're going to be looking at is fixing the fingerprinting process. This process right now, in the midst of COVID-19, requires people who are renewing or getting alcohol license to go to the sheriff's department. They will basically book an appointment, go over there, do fingerprint searches. A member of the staff would then have to go over there, pick those up, bring them back, and it's a very labor-intensive process, if you will. So what we're looking at doing is making that using more today's technology and making it a digital process. The sheriff is supporting this. We still will have him as a backup, but this will actually give the applicant more flexibility in getting their fingerprints done. And as I told you earlier, we're looking at updating the language to the code, which Mr. McNeil will be bringing forth a little later on in your meetings today, that shows general language updates to make sure it's consistent and shows where state law updates and aligns with state law where applicable. Honestly, because of us not being able to work with, with Tyler Technologies refusing to work with us, we're going to need a funding of $30,000 for this software to come online. Dr. Moffitt will be bringing that up to you in the next committee meeting as he needs to, so we can go forward with it. Next slide, please. So the company that we're going to go with is called System Automation. Really quick, they're in many states across the United States. They have hundreds of licensing at the state level, different departments and different agencies throughout the United States. Right now, for their programs and their software, they have over 30 million users. That's how powerful this company is, and we've been able to leverage our relationship with this company, and they were willing to come in and help us out. And so with that being said, the big things about this is that this company is offering us an online solution for initial and renewal application via any mobile device. This is huge. More people are going away from computers and laptops and sticking with smartphones and mobile devices. So this is going to be huge for them. Allows customers to upload supplemental documents and photos, which right now is all done by delivery into the office. It still allows for the paper application option because we don't want to discourage any taxpayer from applying for a business license. And the whole program is intuitive to where it basically walks customers through and helps them out with each phase of their licensing process as they go through to do the applications online. And I think that does cover all of those parts that I wanted to talk about this morning, and I am open for your questions.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Wade. I got a couple of questions. Commissioner Wynn, got you first.
Thank you, Wade. That was a good explanation. So this new company, if we go with System Automation, how long would it take us to get up and running with them? And second question, because I want to back up to something else about the properties that are being bid on. When you said they have the limited title, that means they still have to go through a year of waiting.
No, ma'am. I apologize. Yeah, what I stated was that they have a limited warranty deed. This is
Warranty.
a good marketable title that is insurable. This process is taking away that whole 1 year wait period.
Good.
So
Good.
thank
That
you to the Land Bank Authority and to you as a commission and the Board of Education for supporting this. We're going to be able to see a quicker turnaround with the properties that we were unable to sell. The other part, I apologize, you asked about the system automation.
And how long it will take for that to be up and running if we approve that funding for that?
Well, we are in the process of working to get them already going because we had no choice. When Tyler Technologies refused to work with us, then we had to seek alternatives. And so we've started the process, even though that money's not approved yet. $30,000 for a software program is, like I said, we were able to leverage some relationships to be able to get that.
And what are we doing to get those back, those overdue tax?
Yes, and part of that is that
Pay that
once
$30,000 bill with this, you know?
exactly. And to be honest with you, the ongoing cost is going to be as the same amount as the maintenance for the Tyler Technologies, or even maybe a little cheaper on an annual basis. But that part of this 30,000 is primarily breaching the gap between January 1st and July 1st, which is the budget year, so that I could go from that point forward with the maintenance agreement. So this is getting everything together and getting maintenance all the way through July of next year. And what I'm doing in reference to the delinquencies is that, again, we are unsure of the data. I want to say that first and foremost. So we are treating every application as a brand new application, even the renewals, if you will. In other words, the taxpayers having to fill out all the documents. And my goal on this is once we get the renewals in, is that I will start using some of my staff to go out doing site visits and pulling these people in to to get them to pay their delinquencies. Again, I know that you all have allowed for an amnesty up until December the 31st. So at that point, after that date, then I will start looking at going out and collecting.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Are there further questions of the tax commissioner about anything that he's presented to us thus far? Business licensing, the subsequent tax sale, and the Tyler Technologies?
Mr. Mayor, yes, let me just
If not,
reemphasize something.
Dr. Moffett.
I need to reemphasize something
Go
Wade
ahead,
said to make
Dr.
sure
Moffett.
that I just want to reemphasize something. Three things Wade said. One, that the questions that you as commissioners may get is going to this new software that applicants may have to redo the paperwork. Well, they're doing that anyway right now when they come in and do a renewal and everything. But going forward, once we have the information in the system, they will not have to do that. So for future renewals, all they need is just their number, and they put it in the system and all the information comes up. So that's one more efficiency. And again, that 30,000 is because New World did tell us that they could not do a compatible software that would meet the needs. The third thing I just want to emphasize is, if you recall that I told you months ago when we started this, is that we're trying to get the efficiency of the tax commission officers down the road, that we tie all our systems into one, to where if somebody's delinquent in one area, then we can notify them, and then it will affect how, if they're delinquent in solid waste, then you can't come and renew your business license until you pay your solid waste. So again, that's future down the road as we build this one system using all the data that we have. So I will be bringing you back the supplemental for the 30,000, and come December, when the tax commissioner takes over business license, he will need one position that we've already defunded in the budget that we will fund back, and that will be in his department. So those are the only two adjustments that will be made in the coming months. But so as of October 1, all alcohol, new applicants and renewals would go through the tax commissioner office. And starting January 1, all business license renewals and new applicants will start at the tax commissioner office. I believe he will send out the business license renewals probably late November. Is that right, Wade?
Yes, late November, early December. Yes, I can't give an exact date as of right now.
Okay, so all that's on the timeline. So thank you.
Sounds good. Good.
Yeah, we to be straightforward with you, we
Yeah.
have heard. Not going to belabor the point. We have heard the community. Y'all heard the community of what they want and what they desire, and I think this is going to meet every one of those needs that they have expressed to you all as commission. And
Good.
challenging. So we're ready to go.
Great. Mr. Commissioner, if you would stay online with us, we've got a couple of action items coming up next. I want you just to be available for questions in case we've got one. The next item on our agenda is an ordinance to amend various sections of the code to reflect procedural changes to the transfer of alcohol license. And I hope Michael's ready and going to lead us through that. Michael?
Get my video here. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Rachel, if I can share my document, please. So this is this affects a few different code sections, but basically is just minor procedural or grammatical changes to the current code to show that it's the tax commissioner's office that's going to be running these programs instead of the Department of Business Development Services as it is right now. And so just to go through these code changes, this is the exhibit to the ordinance, and the code changes are reflected in red. The first one, this concerns the, let's see what section this is. I'm sorry for moving around on y'all. So this is section 423, which is the section that governs what needs to go into an alcohol license application for a new license application. And the strike through indicates that this is language that's currently in the code that's being removed. And so in this paragraph here, it talks about how they pay their application fee. And right now there's a provision in the code that says that the application fees need to be paid by certified check or credit or debit card. And it just, this change simply removes that language. And so what's left is just that they have to pay a fee, and they can pay it by any means that the tax commissioner accepts, and he accepts cash and a variety of other forms of payment. A little bit further down, this section that's on the screen now refers to the fingerprinting process. As Commissioner McCord mentioned, the code right now says that the fingerprints have to be done through the sheriff's office. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation has set up a network that's called the Georgia Applicant Processing System, or GAPS, G-A-P-S. And it's a network that's across the state of Georgia where there are places, I believe the design plan was that no matter where you live in the state, there's a place within 5 miles of you that you can go and get digital fingerprints taken, and that they can submit those and do the GBI background check and the FBI background check.
A quick interjection, Michael. That's not come to full fruition, but Macon does have a pretty centralized location for that to happen. Thank you.
Right. Yeah. It's not quite that pervasive, but there are I think a couple hundred places around the state, and I know many of the major cities have these GAPS locations. And the other thing that this allows is if somebody lives out of state and they're an owner of a business, well, we require them to get a background check. Rather than making them travel to Georgia or travel to Macon, they can go to their local police department, get paper fingerprint cards, and I believe there's a central processing office. I want to say it's in Los Angeles, but I know they've changed it in the last couple of years, where they can mail these fingerprint cards and get them processed remotely as well. And so this is all just about making it easier for people to comply and get us the information that we need. Scrolling down a little bit further, let's see, where's the next change? This is section 4-24 dealing with who's the agent on a license. And again, there's a change just saying that the fingerprints do not have to be taken at the Bibb County Sheriff's Office. You'll see that strike through. So they just have to be fingerprinted, and it can be any authorized fingerprint source. Coming down to section 4215, this is for alcoholic beverage catering licenses. And there's a reference in there to paying by certified check for the license fee. And so we just changed the reference to a certified check to just saying you have to pay the whole thing when you apply for the license. Section.
Just making it easier for the taxpayer.
Right. Section 4-217 about special event permits. Another reference to certified check payments there in paragraph B and paragraph C. Going on to chapter 7, which is our business regulations chapter of our code. Section 7.1 added a definition for Macon-Bibb County Department of Business Development Services, which is referred to in a number of places in chapter 7, just to say that any successor department exercising jurisdiction over a matter in Macon-Bibb County also would apply. So if there are any code sections that reference BDS, to give a little bit of flexibility with the transition over to the tax commissioner's office, I didn't want there to be a strict interpretation that said somehow that the tax commissioner didn't have authority to do these matters as we transition. This is now section 7-271 relating to massage parlor licensing. And there's a paragraph down here where when somebody applies for a massage parlor license, they have to, right now it says they have to produce, and you can see the strike through text, true and correct copy or original of the state license for each and every massage practitioner. There was some concern raised that if somebody goes and gets a massage license, they might have a genuine, original massage license, but then they do something to lose their license. If it's an annual renewal, or I don't know quite how long those are good for, but usually it's a year or a couple of years. If they do something to lose their license, or they surrender their license or something, they may still have a document that indicates that they have good licensure. And so rather than relying on that original document, which may be outdated, we tell them go get a professional license verification from within the last 30 days, which is literally just a matter of pulling up the Georgia Secretary of State website. They have a license verification website, and you just print off the form from that website to show that they're still in good standing. And so that's changed in paragraph 2 here as far as for new licenses. And then paragraph 3 deals with whenever an existing business hires a new massage practitioner, they have to do the same thing. Section 7-391, this is for sidewalk food vendors. This is a permit that allows people to have, for example, hot dog carts on the sidewalks downtown. And there's the same change here, where they're required to show a current permit from the Department of Health rather than a valid copy of something that may have been issued up to a year ago. And the last change is in chapter 26. And this has to do with the payment of business license fees. And so under state law, there's a list of certain professions, for example, doctors, lawyers, dentists, architects, where they have a choice by state law of either paying the standard business license fee, which for us is based on the number of employees that are in that practice, or they can pay a flat fee of $400 per professional. So for example, if you've got a law firm that's got 5 attorneys in it, they could just pay a flat $2,000 rather than calculating for all the paralegals and office staff and things like that. So the concern with this section was not every profession is licensed by the Secretary of State Department. For example, attorneys are licensed through the State Bar of Georgia. And so just to clarify that there are some professions that are licensed from other agencies. And so to the extent that you're licensed by someone other than the Secretary of State, you just need to show evidence from whatever the regulatory agency is that provides your license. And so that's all the changes that this code, that this ordinance makes. As I said, it's mostly just cleanup type of stuff. There's no real big substantive changes.
Very good. Questions or comments of Michael by any member of the commission? If
Lucas.
oh, good. Commissioner Lucas, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, in light of those changes that are being made, my question would be, is there a plan for a simplified flow chart or document that explains in very simple terms and easy to follow step by step for citizens to use? Because of course, they're not going to go to the law. I'm just thinking about a practical way of getting that information to people. That would be maybe a simplified flow chart or a simplified diagram of some kind.
And you're referring to the application process,
To
ma'am?
the process, yeah, because you've got a number
ma'am.
of them.
Yes, ma'am, without a doubt. We hear you. That's part of what we're doing, is that we're doing a fact sheet, basically a step-by-step process of what applicants need in order to get their license. And
Right.
so when Michael referred to the most recent certification, that may be foreign to some people, but those people who are in those areas, they know what they need and they know exactly how to get there. And we're going to have all the links. And then, of course, we'll be available by phone or in person as well. But we will have that summary. This is what you need to get your license. You can upload it when you do it. So all that's going to be there, ma'am.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that everybody had some reference point where they would know exactly, because some people will be new to this whole process. We want to make it as citizen friendly as possible.
That's my goal, 100%. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Thank you. And that's very,
Thank you.
yes, ma'am.
Very good. Other questions or comments? If not, can I get a motion on this ordinance, please?
So move.
By Schlesinger and second by Lucas. Further comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the ordinance signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say no. The ayes have it, and the ordinance is approved. Item C is also dealing with the tax commissioner's office, and he needs to transfer a little bit of money between salaries and wages and contract labor, as I understand it. Michael, are you going to talk about this, or Mr. Commissioner, are you going to talk about this? Who's going to talk about this?
I will, sir. Thank you.
Good.
In a nutshell, this is money that I already have in my budget. I have a part-time employee who's got some health issues, and I'm doing a temporary employee right now through the county directed temporary agency. And that's all this is just while this person is in an unpaid status, I'm just transferring what salary she would have been paid to a contract so that I can pay the temporary agency.
Move to
Questions or
approve.
comments? That was Schlesinger. Is there a
Yes,
second?
sir.
Second?
Commissioner Wynn got you as a second. Further discussion? Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the ordinance signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it, and the ordinance is approved. Next, y'all in for a real treat, but this is a serious issue for a lot of people, and I'll let the coroner tell you, but it deals with the closure of the medical examiner's office here in Macon.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Our coroner, Leon Jones, is on the line with us at my request. Mr. Coroner, can I call on you to kind of bring us all up to date on the closure of the ME's office and what that means to you and what that means to us and what that means to John Q. Citizen, please.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
A couple of weeks ago, I received a letter from Vic Reynolds, director of the GBI, that the Macon branch of the GBI lab will be closing. Last year, they had one medical examiner didn't get her license renewed, and the other one decided to retire this year. They've been looking for a qualified candidate last year and were unable to find qualified applicants. If they close the Macon branch of the crime lab, it will create a domino effect. Death certificates will be delayed. The turnaround time now is 3 months. With the addition of 37 counties, it's going to be probably 7 to 8 months. Budget issues, it's going to be $350 to carry a patient to DeKalb County and bring them back if there's no funeral home available at that time. What I'm doing, we got the legislators involved. Senator Lucas and State Representative Robert Dickey was in the meeting last week at the training center with Vic Reynolds, director of the GBI, and Dr. Jonathan Eisenstadt, the chief medical examiner for the GBI. And they told us, well, maybe they can get an ME down here 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Well, Michael Fowler, the coroner of Dougherty County, that worked at the GBI lab in Moultrie that was closed, along with Augusta, along with Somerville, he had to drive from Albany to DeKalb County 5 days a week. Like he told Vic Reynolds, if he could drive from Albany 5 days a week to DeKalb County, surely you got an ME that can drive from DeKalb County to Macon 3 days a week. If this lab is closed, it's going to be total pandemonium. Everything from delaying the death certificates, budget issues, and delay in funeral arrangements. So I'm asking the mayor and the commission to draft a letter to Director Vic Reynolds of the GBI, asking them to keep this lab open in Macon, Georgia. Keep it open. It's got to be open. With the addition of 37 counties going to DeKalb County, it's going to be total chaos. It's already a delay now getting a death certificate. If you got a 45-year-old male that fall dead on the street, that never been sick a day in his life, you have to do an autopsy. You have to. If you got a 45-year-old male that fall dead that has an extensive medical history, you don't need an autopsy, okay? Unless it's something suspicious, okay? When I took over office in 2005, we eliminated a lot of unnecessary autopsies that was done under previous administration. We don't do an autopsy unless you have to do one. Having said that, if you have a self-inflicted gunshot wound, you have an entrance and no exit, you have to do autopsy. I was told a long time ago, you never bury anybody with a projectile, anybody. If you have a self-inflicted gunshot wound, that you have an entrance and exit, nothing suspicious, the coroner and the investigators on the same page, no autopsy is warranted. But you have to follow the letter of the law. If this lab is closed, people, in Macon, Georgia, it's going to create a massive domino effect. What I'm doing, I'm asking the mayor and the council to draft a letter to Director Vic Reynolds of the GBI and Dr. Jonathan Eisenstadt, he's the chief medical examiner, asking them to keep this office open. Senator Lucas is involved in it. State Representative Robert Dickey, he's involved in it. And I think State Rep Beverly, he didn't know what was going on. As a matter of fact, Senator Lucas told the GBI last week in the meeting that this subject didn't even come up during the budget hearings. Well, Vic Reynolds says it's a little bit more than money. They're saying they can't find qualified candidates. However, they did have 2 people leave the GBI to go to Cobb County for more money. So I'm asking y'all to get involved in this process. Questions?
One from me, Leon, and then we'll go to a couple of others. The reason that, as I understand it, that the death certificate is delayed is because on the death certificate, you have to have a cause of death.
Correct.
And until you get back the results of the autopsy and all of the testing that they have to do, histology to see blood serum and this and that and the other, you can't have a cause of death. So the delay in determining the cause of death delays the issuance of the death certificate. So people can't collect life insurance. People can't do this, that, or the other that they need to do and want to do, as I understand. Is that right?
That's right. They can't do anything. A lot of accounts has to be closed, and banks will not close anything without a certified copy. Now, if you got a medical issue, that's the problem. You can't get the cause of death until you get the autopsy results. Now, trauma is a little bit different, okay? If John Hill is shot at Montpelier Avenue and he goes to the crime lab, we already know cause of death, gunshot wound, manner of death, homicide. We already know that. That's not an issue. We talk about these medical cases. Like last week, we had 3 males, 31, 32, and 33, that was found dead. None of them had a medical, 2 of them had a medical problem, COPD and asthma. The one Sunday night had no medical problems at all, no family history, non-smoker, non-drinker. It's going to be a while before we get the cause of death on that.
All right. Questions or comments from other members of the commission? And if not, it would be my inclination to draft a letter, and I'll ask the county attorney to draft us an appropriate letter to Vic Reynolds, stating our concern about the closure of the medical examiner's office in Macon, and ask that he take whatever measures possible to keep it open, even if it means sending somebody down from the DeKalb County several days a week, just so we'll have the availability, and maybe make these death certificates and autopsies done a little bit quicker.
Mr. Mayor.
My question was.
Well, I think I got
No,
Bibbins
Alan.
first, and then Allen. All right. So Commissioner Bibbins, did you have something, sir?
Just wanted to ask if it will be in order to make a motion so this is approved by the total board.
Absolutely. That would certainly be in order, sir.
So I so moved.
And right. And the motion would be to draft an appropriate letter for the commissioners to review. And
Yeah.
got a second. Was that Commissioner Allen that did the second? Jones. Okay. Commissioner Jones did the second. Motion and second to prepare a resolution for the board to recommend we issue the letter and then draft the letter.
Mr. Mayor.
So we'll proceed with
Mayor.
that. Commissioner Lucas.
Yeah, I'd also like for us to we don't get our legislative delegation involved in stuff nearly as much as we need to. I think they are just waiting for us to ask them to assist us with stuff, and we do it once a year, and by that time it's too late. I think this is a situation where the mayor, in addition to that letter, needs to make that contact with our entire legislative delegation and ask them to be heavily involved, not just Lucas and Dickey, but all of them, because all of them represent a part of Macon-Bibb County. So I strongly recommend that they be involved because they know it's a problem too.
Right. I'll ask county attorney to include in the letter that we're copying our local legislative delegation and requesting them to lend assistance where they can.
Right, right.
All right. So we'll have that for pre-commission for you. I hope next Tuesday we'll draft it up for pre-commission and then approve it next week so we can get it on and
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Allen.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mayor, back in the 90s, I don't know if you remember this or not, I know Bert probably does. We had a problem at the crime lab of having a doctor of sorts. Leon, I don't know if you remember that or not. It all came down to money. It seems like, again, it might be coming down to money. Are we going to talk to them about that? Because if it's money, that's going to be probably an issue also. But that's what the problem was. We had a female that was going to come down back in the 90s, and because we would not pay a certain amount, she decided not to.
Right.
Commissioner,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Let me address the issue. Commissioner Allen, from what Director Vic Reynolds told us last week, that it's a combination of money and qualified candidates. I think the state, the Georgia, the GBI pays $175,000 a year for ME. Vic Reynolds told us last week that it's a combination of money and qualified candidates. However, they did have 2 people leave the GBI to go to Cobb County for more money. Okay, but he said last week they cannot find qualified applicants in the beginning to take the job. The only applicants they found, they have 2 applicants, and one of them is under investigation by the FBI. So that ruled that one out. And the other one, we just don't know.
All right,
Yes,
well, Mr. Coroner, it could be that they need to increase the salary of the ME. Maybe they have to do that to attract qualified candidates. I don't know, but that's Commissioner Allen, I would say that that's a state issue. To my knowledge, Macon-Bibb County doesn't contribute to the state salary paid to the ME. Do they, Commissioner, Mr. Coroner?
No, sir.
I don't believe we do.
No, sir.
No, but my comment was basically that we need to push them to make sure if it is a money issue, that our state legislators do get involved and they move that salary up, because that's a very tedious job that they do.
Good.
And we can't stand back on this and lose, because there's a lot of the counties relying on what Bibb County does.
That's good.
Very good. All right.
You're absolutely right, man. I'm gonna tell you. I can tell you right now. I'm speaking to the coroners in the Georgia Coroner Association, and I understand that the closure did not happen on the Vic Reynolds and Eisenstadt. It happened on the Vernon Keenan and Dr. Chris Ferry. But every lab in Georgia that was closed, it never reopened. If they close this lab, ladies and gentlemen, in Macon, Georgia, it would never reopen. Somerville, Augusta, Moultrie, Columbus, every lab that was closed, it never reopened.
Right.
All right. Thank you very much. I think we got it. We'll draft a resolution.
No. I have one more question, sir.
Okay, Commissioner White.
So, couple things, Coroner Jones. I was curious about what is the current interim status. I assume somebody's manning the Macon office now. What are the qualifications that are a concern for the state? And has there been any thought been given into contracting with the private company if we can't find a quality candidate?
From what Director Reynolds told us, that the 29th, Mr. Mayor, do you have the letter that I sent you? Mr. Mayor.
Not in a format that I can pull up and share the screen with.
Commissioner Watkins, I think the 29th of this month will be the last day autopsy will be done in the Macon branch. I sent a letter, emailed a letter to Mr. Mayor. I should have mailed it to all councilmen. I apologize. But it's my understanding that the September 29th will be the last day that autopsy will be done in Macon, Georgia.
So if they haven't found a replacement by the 29th, it's over?
That's correct. Now, from what they told us last week, they're looking at the option of an ME coming from the DeKalb County down to Macon 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That was on the table.
Okay.
That was on the table last week at the meeting that we had in Forsyth.
Yeah, and that's definitely better than nothing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's going to be a delay, but it's better than nothing.
All right, and then hopefully we can get back to being full time. So we write a letter and aim for that, and that's the main goal. I got you. All right, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much for being with us this morning, Mr. Coroner. We appreciate that and appreciate your service, sir. You're welcome to stay. Welcome to stay with us, but if you want to, this would be appropriate time for you to sign off. But thank you very much for being with us.
Thank y'all, everyone. Have a blessed day.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a purchase and sales agreement with Eberhard Industries Incorporated and Mead Road Environmental 2 LLC in an amount not to exceed $8,750,000 for the purchase of land located at 4300 Mead Road to be paid with 2018 SPLOST funds, Walker Road landfill purchase line item and others. We've got a, somebody's.
And Mr. Mayor, I want to ask you about something too. Did we vote on that last?
Yeah, we didn't vote on the letter for the coroner.
Oh, you were right. I'm so sorry. Thank you very much, Mr. Commissioner Bivens and Commissioner Wynn. I'm trying to get ahead of myself. So there was a motion to prepare a resolution and a letter for pre-commission. And I had Bivens and Jones with my motion and second, but you're right. I forgot to vote on it. So all in favor of having that resolution and letter prepared for our approval of pre-commission.
Mr. Mayor. Commissioner Jones.
Sir. Commissioner Jones.
Would it be appropriate and have more impact if we had each commissioner sign it? You had a signature line for each commissioner at the bottom?
I don't know that, but I don't certainly don't object to it. We can, yeah, and ask the attorneys to prepare a signature line for each commissioner. So we'll have that ready for next week. But all in favor of doing that, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. We'll prepare that resolution and letter for commission review and approval pre-commission next Tuesday. All right, now moving on to the Eberhard.
Needs to be done quicker than that.
Ma'am?
I'm just saying it needs to be expedited.
We trying.
Well, I mean, next Tuesday is a whole week.
It is, Commissioner Lucas. But we will move forward. That's the quickest way I know. But if it gets done quicker, we'll circulate it so that you can have it ahead of time.
Yeah.
But, right. Okay. So the Eberhard contract. Let me give you a big picture, and then I'll turn it over to Michael for a brief comment or two, and then we have Carl Hofstetter on the phone as well, and he's going to help us with some information. So let me give you the big picture. We've talked about this a couple of times in the past. The big picture is this: we are under an obligation to close the Walker Road landfill. That will require that we procure dirt of a certain quality, dealing with its compaction rate and porosity. But it's a clay type substance, and we got to put about 18 inches of clay over the entire 120-acre landfill site. And then we've got to come behind that and put 6 inches of topsoil on top of the 18-inch cap of clay that would sustain grass and that kind of thing. Then we have to kind of monitor and maintain it. We have to get started on that in the very near future, because even though we have about 1.5 years of life expectancy, 2 years of life expectancy left in the landfill, we're under pressure by EPD to get it closed, and it's hopelessly inefficient in its operation now. So with that as background, we put out an RFP, number one, for dirt. And number two, we put out an RFP for a C&D landfill, construction and demolition debris landfill. And number three, we put out an RFP for a location for a transfer station. Our idea is that we use the transfer station to maintain control of our solid waste stream, so that we have some protection going forward in the future about falling victim and not being able to compete or have our solid waste transferred to a different place. So the transfer station would be for MSW, municipal solid waste. That means you can direct that it be transported to Twiggs County, to the Wolf Creek landfill, or transported to Houston County for their Houston County landfill, or over to Reynolds, Georgia, and Butler, I think Taylor County, there's a Taylor County landfill, or up to Griffin. So you've got a multitude of options then, and you don't fall victim to just one carrier. So that's the part of it for municipal solid waste. The C&D landfill, there's been some discussion about why we need or whether we need a C&D landfill. But I'm of the impression that we owe it to our citizens to have a C&D landfill, if we can site one in Bibb County, so that they can carry debris from construction projects and demolition. We can carry houses that we tear down as part of the blight initiative. When we tear that down, we can carry it and dispose of it in a cost-effective and cost-efficient way. The results came back from the RFP that Eberhard offered us a combination and bid on both the clay and the soil types of an appropriate type and amount, as well as a C&D landfill. And the two kind of go together, that if you dig the clay out, you're beginning to make a hole that you can expand on and create a C&D landfill. And you get your clay at the same time that you can transport a fairly short distance from Meade Road over to the Walker Road landfill. So that was kind of the result of the procurement process. And we entered into negotiations with Everhart, and they have been protracted. We've been talking to them for, I bet, 6 months or so. And we have kind of gone back and forth on the different ways. We wanted just to buy the dirt, and Everhart was not willing just to sell the dirt to us. It has complications. However, they're more than happy for us to take the dirt to start with, if we agree to buy the remainder for the landfill value. So what we did was we got some cost estimate and approximation of what the dirt would cost. And therefore, when we close this transaction, there'll be basically a $3 million down payment. The $3 million down payment then transfers title to the land to Macon-Bibb County. So we'll own it with that. But there's also an obligation in the contract for Everhart at his cost to procure the D&O, which is Development and Operation Permit from EPD, because while the site has been approved as a site for a C&D landfill, the actual permit to operate it is contingent on acquiring an approved D&O plan, and that's what I think Mr. Hofstadter is going to talk to us about momentarily. Once they get the D&O plan done, that will determine the amount of disposal space available in this site once it is completed. So the amount of disposal space, cubic yards of disposal space, carries a price tag under our negotiations of $1.75 per cubic yard. And Mr. Hofstadter estimates that he's going to have, I think, I'll let Mr. Hofstadter tell you how many cubic yards, but you multiply that by this $1.75. But there's a cap that the total cannot exceed the $3 million down payment, and this amount that we're paying for the D&O plan can't exceed the original asking price of $8,750,000. So that's a maximum price not to exceed. I don't care how many cubic yards of disposal space there. And the final part of this, before I turn it over to Michael for some additional comments and then to Carl, the final part of this is, in order for us to start mining the dirt off of this site, we have to have a surface mining permit approved by EPD. Well, the surface mining permit really needs to be done in conjunction with and in contemplation of the D&O plan. And since Mr. Hofstadter is under contract with Everhart to help him get the D&O plan, then we thought it made all the sense in the world to coordinate the surface mining permit so that he'll know what to represent to EPD about the surface mining permit and the D&O plan. The two kind of go together on that. Next, let me turn this over to Michael. We've run into one or two small, I say small, snags in the legal documents in the procurement of paying money later for you know, once it's determined by the D&O plan, and we've got to be sure that certain language is in the contract. So we're working with the attorneys for Everhart to see if we can get the final contract language. So there is nothing for you to vote on today. This is another update until we get the final contract language finalized between the attorneys. So Michael, anything you need to add to that?
Comfortable voting today, actually. And I wanted to ask, what are you thinking? What are you thinking the estimated start time is if you were to do this, and what is the completion date of your project?
Let me see if I can. Yeah, let me see if I can't get through Commissioner Watkins with Michael and with Mr. Hofstadter, because I think he can answer a lot of these questions quicker than I can. Okay. Let me see if I can get through the presentation, then we'll come back if he doesn't answer your question.
All right,
Is that all right?
I mean, if the start time,
let me do it that way.
Thinking? I'm not really interested.
Let me see if I can't get the presentation completed. And if we don't answer your question, we'll come right back to it. Okay. Michael, anything that you need to say other than working through this and hopefully have it ready?
Right. No, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I just wanted to say we work hard in the attorney's office to try and have everything lined up for y'all to take action on when it gets on an agenda. But there were just some things that came up at the last minute on this one, and we wanted to make sure that everything is right, that we have final language in the contract that we attach to the resolution. And so, as Mayor mentioned, it's just not quite ready to go, but we're working through it and feel like we should have something hopefully soon.
Right. And heads up, if we can get this done, get the language between the attorneys done and finalized, we'll bring it to you at pre-commission, because we do want to move forward on this as expeditiously and as quickly as we can. So if we can get it done by pre-commission, if not, we'll get it done as quickly as we can. With that having been said, Mr. Hofstadter is on the line here with us. Mr. Hofstadter, can you talk to us a little bit more about the C&D landfill and your trying to get the D&O permit, how long that's going to take, and then the surface mining permit, how long that's going to take, and when we might be able to mine dirt? Can you talk to us about those two things, please, sir?
Certainly, Mayor, and good morning to Mayor and the commissioners. As far as the D&O plan is concerned, that's the design and operation plan. For y'all's information, EPD is up to speed on this. EPD is waiting on both the mining permit and the D&O plan. And maybe to answer one of y'all's questions, we will begin work the very day that the contract is signed. It's estimated that we'll have a mining permit or a disturbance permit from Macon Water Authority, one of the two. We'll have that submitted within 45 days. The D&O plan we should have submitted within 6 months. The thing that I can't predict and no one can predict is how long EPD is going to take to review it. It's usually around 3 months for them to get their first review, and 6 months before they issue a permit. So estimated time that I think we're going to have here is they'll be able to move dirt within 90 days, hopefully a lot shorter than that. It depends on how soon the governing agency reviews it. And we should have a D&O plan within 12 months. Now, EPD has also, go ahead. EPD has also said they want a quarterly update on this project because they're aware that Macon may purchase this. And so it's in Eberhardt's name. We're going to change it to the Macon-Bibb. They want a quarterly update for the timeline on the D&O plan. So I'll take questions now.
Well, Carl, how many cubic yards do you hope of disposal space for the C&D landfill do you hope to have approved with the D&O plan?
5
million cubic?
5 million.
So you got 5 million cubic yards of disposal space. And if you multiply 5 million cubic yards times $1.75, that's where we came up with the original cost estimate. So we're subtracting from that the $3 million that we're paying to start mining the dirt and taking the dirt away, the value of the dirt. But the real value of the property is in the disposal space and the number of cubic yards of licensed disposal space for C&D. And the last thing I'll say is that I really think and hope that we can make a convenience center at this location for the residents of Macon-Bibb County and others residents to be able to come and offload and dump yard debris, yard clippings, limbs, trees, debris, cleaning out my garage or this or that, or the construction, so on and so forth. Have a convenience center as opposed to having a lot of the illegal dumping that's going on. Plus, I really think that there's an opportunity for us when private contractors do demolition and look to dispose of debris, we can charge them for disposing of the debris at this C&D landfill. I've had a couple of commissioners say that they had some concerns about our operating. We have a kind of a bad history of operating landfills and citations and this, that, or the other. And I've said, I think there's a lot of difference between the Walker Road landfill and the vertical permits that have caused us all the problems, as opposed to a properly operated C&D landfill. But we can look into the operation and how to best operate the C&D landfill, either by outsourcing or doing it in-house, whichever one we decide we want to do. But I think that having the option of a C&D landfill for our citizens is critical, especially for blight. So with that, Commissioner Watkins, have we answered any of your questions, or do you have some additional questions for us?
So it sounded like 90 days before we can move dirt, DOD 12 months at best, Again, I have concerns. I think this is way too much money. I think there are better options. I've asked a few times to review the other RFPs that came in. I don't think I've seen that yet. You're convinced and wanting to rush this. Again, I'm not convinced that this is the best deal. It's buying the dirt, but I've also still got to haul it. We don't own trucks to haul stuff, so there's that cost. And again, I've heard anecdotally that some of the other bids took all of that into consideration when it came to the dirt. So I have that issue. I don't understand why we're rushing. I also on the concept of the transfer station not being able to take construction material. I don't understand that. I don't want to build a C&D and manage a C&D landfill for the next 100 years. I don't want to do that, especially if we're going to build a transfer station anyway that can take all manners of trash. And that's my understanding. No one has told me that a transfer station cannot be designed to take all manners of trash. I want to explore that option more before I get into this. And I don't know why you're trying to rush this down our throat on pre-commission. I've said these things several times. I yield.
Well, let me respond, if I may. Number one is that if you want to use a transfer station to transfer your C&D material, then you're right. That's where you're going to have to come up with a trucking company to haul your C&D material for you out of county. And then when you get to AC, that's true. Let me finish, please, sir. Let me finish. So if you haul your C&D material to a different, in another county, a C&D landfill, then you're going to have to pay a tipping fee. And the tipping fee at a C&D landfill is pretty significant, but it is less than MSW, because MSW, municipal solid waste, putrefies and rots and this, that, or the other. And MSW has to be covered every day with 6 inches of topsoil. That's a MSW. If you take it to a C&D landfill, because it doesn't rot and putrefy, you only have to cover it once every 30 days. So the cost of operating a C&D landfill is less. And what you don't want to do is take your combination of C&D and MSW all in one to an MSW landfill, because you're going to be paying a much higher tipping fee to dump the total tonnage that you don't need to pay if you had it separated and take the C&D to a C&D landfill. But if you had your own C&D landfill, then not only would you not have to pay the tipping fee for blighted houses that are estimated, kind of just rough back of the envelope, 15 tons per house for a small blighted house that you tear down. 15 tons times the tipping fee of $35 a ton gets to be an awful lot of money that you would not have to pay if you were operating your own C&D landfill and could dispose of it. here. And the MSW part, we are contemplating the transfer station for MSW only, and we're currently under contract with Advanced Disposal, and I think that contract has about 4 years to run. And what they do is they take it, because in the collection trucks that go around through the neighborhood, they drive those trucks 13 miles over into Twiggs County and dump them, and then come back and continue the route. But that's the Advanced model, and while we've got a contract with them, I don't want us to be in the position of not having a MSW landfill ourselves, because we're closing Walker Road and not having the option of taking it somewhere else with the transfer station.
If I
But
may,
I do think we could.
I just wanted to make sure you didn't misspeak. I thought I heard you say that the cost to transport C&D material was less than MSW materials. I just want to make sure I didn't hear you misspeak. Not
to transport it. I think transportation cost goes by the ton, but the tipping fee would be where the difference is. And if you don't have to put C&D, you don't want to pay to put it in an MSW landfill.
So you're saying the tipping fees of C&D is more or less than MSW? Which one is the higher one?
Less. But MSW is higher because they have to cover it with 6 inches of dirt every day.
Well, okay.
Let me say something, if you don't mind.
Oh, that's why you're on the phone. Please, sir.
Well, let me say this. A natural question was, well, if you're going to transport the municipal solid waste, why don't you just transport the C&D? If you're going to do one, why don't you do the other? And the answer to that question is, if we could put an MSW in Bibb County, it would be cheaper than transporting. But you can't get an MSW zoned in Bibb County. They did it in Houston County, are highly successful with it. But we can get a C&D zoned and permitted by EPD, which will save you approximately $7 per ton. And at 200 tons a day, which is your C&D right now, that's going to save you right at $500,000 a year in tipping fees right now.
So why is it saving me $7 per ton?
Because it's cheaper to build and operate a C&D than it is an MS&W. And you don't have to transport the C&D. See, that's the problem.
I guess I'm asking, you said $7 per ton. That's based upon what?
That's $33 a ton tipping fee right now, because we have to transport it, versus $17 a ton to do it ourselves. In other words,
the cost in-house is $17 per ton.
See, because we have to pay it costs us money to operate a landfill. It's not like we're saving $33 a ton. We still have to operate our landfill.
Right.
And across the state of Georgia, and we've designed probably 30 of them. It averages between 15 and 17. I'm just using 17 as a high stat.
How much does it actually cost Macon-Bibb County at its current landfill? Or did it cost?
It's right now, because you didn't have to line, it's probably $17 a ton that you're paying right now, because you don't have to transport it, because you're doing it yourself. That's just an internal cost of you hiring the compactors and you getting the bulldozers and the backhoes and the front end loaders and everything like to compact your waste. So that's the real savings. That's the reason you want a C&D. And it took us 10 years to get this permitted with EPD, and that's why they're so valuable. And the real savings and the real money, just quite frankly, is in if you own the landfill. All these people that own landfills, like the guy that owns it in Miami, he owns the Miami Dolphins. I mean, that's how much money is in owning the landfill. And I can assure you that if we could own a landfill, a MSW landfill in Bibb County, we would want to do that.
So is the Walker Road landfill now, we've owned that for a century?
It's over 80 years.
Okay, and talk to me about the return that has been a money-making venture for us.
Yes, because, well, it depends on how much you're going to charge. In other words, if it's costing you $17 a ton and you're only charging $15, then you're making a mistake.
So I know
But-
I've been here for the last 10. I can't recall it being something we talked about positively of making us money. So if I could get some type of documentation to back this up, I would.
Okay.
It would be great for me because I'm
Well-
like accepting that all of
Right.
this is.
That we'd be happy to do that. I will say this: your neighbor, Houston County, they are making a pretty good amount of money. I do know this in Toombs
Like I
County.
said, I stand to be corrected. It's just.
Well, I do know this in Toombs County, Vidalia, they're running about 200 tons a day. I do know they put in their budget, they make over $500,000, and that's just little Toombs County. So, and that's. So, I mean, what I'm saying is what they charge and what they operate. In other words, they charge $25 a ton and it only cost them 17. They're making $8 a ton, and that adds up. Now, the way they've started is they use SPLOST to do that. So they didn't have any debt. Okay. And so they didn't have to service a debt because they used SPLOST money. And so that saved the taxpayers money because they didn't have to pay that higher tipping fee. And that's the savings, really.
Let me mention one other thing, Commissioner Watkins. The reason you probably have not heard much about the Walker Road landfill being a money-making proposition here recently is because when we ran out of space years ago and ran out of space, they applied for and received from EPD a vertical expansion. And a vertical expansion means exactly what it says, rather than additional territory where you can go and dig a hole, dump garbage in it and cover it up. Vertical expansion means that you literally drive the garbage truck up on top of the hill, dump out the garbage, and then go and dig a borrow pit someplace else and get the dirt to transport in to take up to the top of the landfill and cover the garbage that you've dumped out there. So hopelessly inefficiency and not cost effective, but efforts have been made in the past to try and think about siting an MSW landfill in Bibb County. And like Mr. Hofstadter said, you just can't do that. You can't find a place in Bibb County. Any place you look, you're gonna face a firestorm and a 10-year delay before you get it permitted for MSW, and probably not going to even get it here in Bibb County because of all the different requirements. So that may be why you haven't heard much about what a wonderful thing the Walker Road landfill is. But EPD has told us no more vertical expansions. You've got to close it. And we've got about 1.5 years or 2 years of life expectancy left. And we need to acquire the dirt and start the closure process. That was what was in the ballot language of closing the Walker Road landfill that the voters voted on, and put the money in there so that we could close the Walker Road landfill and make alternative arrangements for solid waste disposal, both C&D and MSW, which is what we're trying to do.
Where does dirt come from now? Like every day we have to cover the MSW. Where do we get dirt from now?
A variety of sources. A variety of sources. We have been buying dirt from the Walker family, who owns property around the Walker Road landfill. But we've had problem after problem after problem because you don't have to dig very far before you hit the water table, and water intrusion starts to come in, and then you've got to run pumps to try to pump the water out faster than you can dig so that you can continue to dig. That in and of itself is not the best way. We have bought dirt from other sources and had it brought in. I understand Commissioner Allen and Commissioner Wynn want to weigh in on this as well, but let me go to them and then we'll come back. Commissioner Allen, I think you were first, and then Commissioner Wynn.
Mr. Mayor, I've been dealing with this for a while, and I'm lost again. But I'm gonna back off, let y'all decide what you want to do, because this goes into the next century, whatever we're gonna do. So we just need to take our time on it and not really push it. All commissioners need to be on board. That's all I got
Oh,
to say.
which is right, which is exactly why we've had several of these meetings and discussions in the past. But if anybody needs to take a trip down to Walker Road and be a little more familiar with Walker Road or the Meade Road site, we'll be glad to try to organize that as well. Commissioner Wynn, what have you got?
Would be good.
Well, I think that I have the similar questions that Commissioner Watkins has been asking, and I think there are too many questions still out there for us to proceed with this project. I thought early on we talked about, have we gone outside our county to see if there is dirt available outside our county? I thought that was discussed earlier, and if there's other options for us versus this, I'd like to look at that. I don't want to run another landfill again. I just think that we need to have our questions answered and have things laid out in a better way. I just think this needs to wait for right now. I honestly think.
Well, we don't have anything for you to vote on right now anyway.
Well, I realize that, but this information still needs to be laid out in a better plan for us.
Okay. I'll certainly try to do that, but better as well. And what I'll tentatively, Mayor Pro Tem, that's you?
Yes, sir. I will say this. I've heard words like rush, we're moving too fast. You know, to be honest, we have been talking about this since 2018. I think what may be new is just an actual site that we've been looking at a different site. But before the SPLOST was passed, it had to be listed in 2018 SPLOST that we needed to close the landfill. And I think, so when we're saying that we're rushing something, I don't know what we're rushing because we've been discussing it since 2018. I think what a lot of folks may be hearing for the first time is sites, and we've discussed many sites that we've been interested in from East Macon to South Macon. And so let's just be clear on when you're saying that, you know, we're rushing something and you're hearing it for the first time. I would really like to hear when y'all are saying that, what do you mean we're hearing something for the first time? Because I think we're sitting here with an actual purchase that we can go ahead and buy and move forward. And there are going to be those that understand that we do need to move forward with the landfill. And there's been the consistency of those that have not supported moving forward with the landfill. So, but let's not, you know, say to anybody that this is new.
I never did that. I don't think that's what we're saying.
Yeah, I'm not saying
that.
I've opposed what you're trying to start.
One at a time, y'all. Come on.
I'm done.
One at a time. Let me call on you. Let me call on you and be recognized. Please. I think I got Commissioner Jones next. Commissioner Jones?
Yes, sir. I'm certainly open to the concept. You know, what's new is it's an evolving story. It's a developing story because now we have I think that starts in January of next year, the 5-year contract with ADS. And then they have a 2-year option on that. And so I think what we need to do is we need to have more details and have a cost benefit analysis. That is, we're comparing the pluses and the minuses.
Exactly.
And I've talked to Carl, and he's enlightened me some on this, but I've got some more people to talk to. So we just need more details as to, okay, if we didn't do it, what's it going to cost us? If we do it, what's it going to cost us? Because we still have, my understanding is we still have a 30-year commitment on Walker landfill. That is to maintain it 30 years after we close it. So there are a lot of details that, even though we've talked about it little bits and pieces for a couple of years, I don't disagree with Commissioner Tillman on that, but it's kind of an evolving, developing story. So we need the pluses and the minuses of both scenarios. And so we'll depend on the administration for that, and or Carl or whoever else is going to contribute. Thank you.
Okay. Well, stay tuned for further details, and I'll try to organize best I can some sort of a work session, perhaps for next Tuesday afternoon, if that's a possibility, so that we can socially distance and perhaps look at the Meade Road site and look at the Walker Road site if you wanted to do that, as well as go over some other items that appear to be of interest to different commissioners.
Mayor,
and perhaps we can have,
if I could,
Mr. Hofstadter.
I don't mean to interrupt, but, you know, Valor, to answer your question, I think an exhaustive search was made for some other dirt of this quantity. In other words, you got a whole 120 acres there that you're going to have to cover. And this site has that dirt. And compared to the site that Republic offered, the savings is in the trucking, because this site is so close to the Walker landfill. And to answer the other questions, I think a good thing to do is we've already made all those analysis, and we can put it in a form that you can give out to every commissioner, and they can see it in black and white and decide for themselves, you know, whether they want to do it or not. So we have done, to answer y'all's questions, we've done an analysis if, you know, how much it's going to cost you if you do a C&D and how much it's going to cost you if you don't. So we'll be happy to provide
All right,
those.
so
That's what we
right,
need.
Carl, if you can, Carl, make arrangements to be with us next Tuesday afternoon. We'll have a work session, and hopefully we'll be able to have something where we can socially distance and maybe visit, or at least have a maps and all that we can look at that would answer some of these questions. So y'all stay tuned.
We'll try to get it to them so they can look at it beforehand. I don't want to give it to them and them sitting there trying to look at it while they're looking on.
Right. Thank you for that. And remind me, Mr. Hofstadter, you're with our Public Works Department, or?
No.
Well, I probably should be, but I have Hofstadter Associates. We're consulting engineers. And so, as I mentioned, we do the engineering work for about 40 cities and counties. Like we do, you know, a lot of landfills for different cities and water plants and all this kind of stuff. So that's what we are. We're just consulting engineers located on Arkwright Road.
Okay.
Yep. But in this case, he's a consulting engineer hired by Everhart to get the permit and the D&O plan. So this is the man that's trying to get the D&O plan for Everhart and maximize the value of it for Everhart in the total number of disposable acres or cubic yards of disposable space.
Okay.
That's fair enough.
All right, so more information to come from Hofstadter, and we'll try to have something set up for next Tuesday afternoon. Moving on, the next
I'm
item
going to
on
sign
our
off
agenda
now,
is change financial.
Thank you.
Right.
Carl.
Okay. Thank you, Carl.
Yeah.
Change the financial policy. Bye-bye. Michael, are you going to lead us in that, or somebody from legal? Or this was actually by Mayor Pro Tem, and he may want to tee it up for you and tell you, and then maybe go to Michael then. Mayor Pro Tem, you want to tee this up? You're the sponsor, sir. Mayor Pro Tem?
I said I was multitasking.
Say again, sir.
Yeah, on this one right here, Mr. Mayor, I want to move to table this one or take it off the agenda for now and come back later in the year to have discussion on it.
Are you removing it or tabling it?
I want to remove it off the agenda at this time and bring it back later to give more input. Go ahead.
At the request of the sponsor, I'll postpone this for 2 weeks, and we'll see where we are in the meantime. And then if we want to put it back on the agenda in 2 weeks, we can, or whatever. So I'll just postpone it if that's okay with everybody.
That'd be fine.
Okay. So that item is postponed at the request of the sponsor. Next, we've got an ordinance that is sponsored by Commissioner Bivens that would, as I understand it, prohibit any item of business from being assigned to the committee of the whole, and would require instead that it be assigned to one of the other 4 standing committees. But Commissioner Bivens, let me call on you to talk about your proposal, your ordinance proposal, and what you're trying to accomplish.
Well, the committee of the whole is something we use at Bibb County. It was operated different than this. At Bibb County, if there was something that was not included in the agenda that needed to be taken up, the board would vote on whether or not we were going to take it up on the committee of the whole at that time. From time to time, there have been people who would say, well, this ought to be on a particular committee rather than being on the committee of the whole. And so the idea of this is things can still be put on the committee of the whole, but they would be put on with the permission of the board on a time-by-time basis. Otherwise, they would go to whatever committee they needed to be assigned to.
Second.
I'm sorry, that was a second by Commissioner Watkins?
Yes, sir.
Is that right? Okay, so you got a motion and second. Further discussion. I would like to point out that oftentimes it's difficult to assign subject matters to only one committee because it can involve operations and finance. It can involve economic and community development. It can involve facilities and engineering. And you don't want, I don't think you want to have seriatim meetings and discuss the same thing over and over in different committees while we all sit here. So number one, sometimes the committee of the whole functions well when everybody can weigh in and listen to it one time and vote. And the second part of that is that if it was referred to a committee, facilities and engineering, for example, and a majority of facilities and engineering voted to table it and hold it in committee, then under our charter and ordinances, at the next regularly called meeting, five commissioners could vote to pull that item from facilities and engineering and put it on the agenda for the main meeting that night, the next regularly called meeting, which would be an evening meeting. So I'm not sure that this serves any practical or useful purpose by saying it's got to go to a standing committee rather than the committee of the whole. And 5 members could pull it from the committee and put it on the agenda for the evening meeting. So I really just not sure that I understand this. Call, and I don't want to misspeak. I think Duke has been looking at this. And Michael, any comments from legal about this?
No, sir, Mayor.
Okay.
The ordinance would do just for the changes to our procedural ordinances would require that in order for the presiding officer, which would be the mayor, to refer to a committee of the whole, 5 commissioners would have to approve that. So that's the procedural change, and it will be in our governmental decision-making part of the ordinances, but it's completely within the discretion of the commission what they want to do. But it is true that if a commission wants to put an agenda item that was previously into a particular committee, tabled or not, on an agenda, 5 members can do that. So that is correct.
Yeah,
Commissioner Wynn got you
yes,
next.
Thank you. I'm kind of in the same, I believe the same thing you said. I think that we work pretty well. It works pretty well with what we have. I find it interesting that if we have a committee of 5, which our committees are, 3 people can hold something from the commission that may need to be addressed by the entire commission, which I guess is why that 5 can come back and put it on the agenda again. I think it works well the way we have it. And when you're making items assigned to a committee, if someone doesn't agree with that committee that's on, then that committee chairman can say something to you, or the 2 committee chairmen that may have a conflict can say something, and you can reassign it to the right committee if that's been a problem. But I think the way we have it now works well.
Commissioner Lucas, got you next.
Yeah, thank you. I kind of agree with the sentiment of Commissioner Bivens. I think that we have standing committees set up. Those committees are made up of 5 intelligent folks who have an interest in the subject matter. They've studied it, hopefully, and they make a decision. And I think having so much go into the committee of the whole diminishes the reason that we have the standing committees. So I think that this serves to balance a little bit more. Because I've heard, I think every single one of you at some point in time, all of the elected commissioners talk about, well, that should be in that committee, or that should be in that committee. And why do we have this committee structure set up if everything goes to the committee of the whole? And in many cases, there are items that belong in operations that need to be there. They're in the committee of the whole. So I just think that it brings about a little bit more balance. And so I'm going to support this. And whether it passes or not, I think we need to think about a number of things that we need to change in that charter that all of us know would create more of a balance, because our charter is not a balanced document. And it really, from a practical standpoint, it is totally out of balance, and we all know that. And so I just think we need to start looking at some things, and this is a good time when we are shifting from one administration to another to look at some things without any personalities. It's not casting anything at any mayor or anything, but there is an imbalance in our charter, and this may help us a little bit. So I'm going to support it.
Commissioner Bivens, got you next, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Bivens, Mr. Mayor, this is not designed.
Get your cup of coffee, Bert.
Yeah, I know. Got one here. I need to drink it. This is not designed to keep things from going to the committee of the whole. But as you said a few minutes ago, there are things that can present some kind of conflict, like going from one committee to another one because it has some relationships. Those kind of things being pointed out, my experience with the county was that when those kind of things were pointed out, there was no problem with the board agreeing that it should go, that it should be on the committee of the whole. But if there's no explanation for why it's on the committee of the whole, then it should go to whatever committee it normally should be signed to. And again, sometimes things can come up and there's an urgency, but those kind of things pointed out to the board, and then the board makes a decision. And I think in most instances in the past that they were left on the committee of the whole, but it wasn't an automatic thing. I mean, the board would make that decision.
Well, Commissioner Jones got you, then I'll have a comment as well.
Yeah, so I can recall possibly 2 or 3 times in 7 years that maybe armchair quarterbacking, well, I thought that should have gone in this committee instead of that committee, but the committee of the whole I really like better, and I don't see any problems with what we've had in the past, and I think you've done a good job of putting appropriate matter in the committee of the whole. So I like it. So far, it's worked real good, and we've been doing it for almost 7 years.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. And Commissioner Bivens kind of touched on this, but it is not easy to balance trying to efficiently conduct business. If a lot of times when we come in, we like to read and refer things at a nighttime meeting, and kind of gives the public some awareness that we're reading it and referring it. Then it goes to committee, and then another week goes by before it gets to the regular full commission meeting again. And from just a efficiency standpoint, assigning things to committee of the whole can move it more expeditiously. Everybody has input into it. It's not an effort or attempt to slight any committee to and to put things in, but the ultimate outcome, and that's what we all have to remember. The ultimate outcome is that the full commission has to vote on anything, whether it goes through a committee or committee of the whole. So the whole commission got to vote on it. I think it would keep it efficient and expeditious as far as setting the agenda is concerned, if I were able to set the agenda and refer some items as appropriate to a committee of the whole rather than an individual committee. So I would ask you, if you're undecided, don't vote yes on this. Instead, vote no, with all due respect to Commissioner Bivens. Vote no on this and leave the system. If it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. And it ain't broke, if you ask me. We're set up as a strong mayor form of government, and I've certainly tried to incorporate decisions by the entire commission and not act like a rogue or wild horse maverick mayor. So I think we need to keep it the way it is. So that's my 2 cents worth. Is there anybody else that wants to be heard on this?
It's not about you, Mr. Mayor. It's about the system, not
Well,
about you.
No, it's not. It's not about me personally,
Right.
but it is
So,
about a
but
strong
you
mayor
made
form
it
of government.
personal. It's
And
not
and that's
about
what,
you.
and that, no, sorry, it's not about me, but it is about a strong mayor form of government. And that's what the charter gave us. And while some disagree with that, it being wise, it's worked well for 7 years. So I would say leave it alone. Is there further discussion about this? Hearing none, then those in favor of the ordinance to prohibit the mayor from referring anything to the committee of the whole without 5 commissioners would vote yes. If you oppose that, you would vote no. I think I'm going to have trouble on a voice vote, so I'll ask for a roll call vote and ask the clerk to call the roll and take the vote for us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Commissioner Allen, how do you vote?
No.
Commissioner Bivens, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones, how do you vote?
No.
Commissioner Lucas, how do you vote?
Yes.
I'm not keeping up with this. I'm sorry. You got to
2
give them
to
enough.
2.
Huh?
It's 2 to 2.
It's 2 to 2. Commissioner Schlesinger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Shepard, how do you vote?
No.
Commissioner Tillman, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Watkins, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Wynn, how do you vote?
No.
So what do we have? 5 to 4?
5 to 4. Yes, sir. It passes.
5 to 4. The ordinance is approved. That then will take us to the next item on the agenda, which is executive session.
Mr. Mayor, what's the what's the effective date of that ordinance?
Which ordinance?
The one that we just passed.
I don't think.
On your signature?
Yes.
Right. Well, just go ahead. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt.
Do you plan to, do you have veto on that?
I have the ability to veto it, and I intend to at this point.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah. Nothing personal.
You took it personally. It's
personal.
not
No,
personal.
No, it's not. It's not personal. It's just a matter of, never mind. But that's neither here nor there. I need to go into executive session for a variety of reasons. I need to go into executive session for consultation with the county attorney or other legal counsel to discuss pending or potential litigation, settlement, claims, administrative proceedings, and other judicial actions brought or to be brought against Macon-Bibb County and any officer or employee which the county may or officer or employee may be directly involved as provided in OCGA 50-14-2 and authorizing negotiations to purchase, dispose of, lease property as provided, and also personnel. I've got a personnel item to go. Somebody needs to mute.
No, somebody.
I'm getting a
Probably you, Michael, will do. Want y'all in the
okay.
same room?
Okay, so I need a motion to go in for all 3 reasons: litigation, acquisition or disposal of land, and personnel. Can I get a motion to do that?
So moved.
Got motion by Lucas and second by Allen.
It wasn't me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I guess I sound like a
Alan and
gentleman
Schlesinger.
today.
Yeah, it was me.
It was Schlesinger
Yes, sir.
Y'all don't sound alike.
and Allen was my second.
All right now.
Okay, so all in favor of going into executive session for those three purposes signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Rachel, I'll need for you to put everybody that's not entitled to be here. We've got a couple of commissioners elect, I think, that are on the line. I want you to include them as we have done before. I think Commissioner Wilder is on the line, as well as Commissioner-elect Howell. Be sure to include them in the executive session.
And Mayor-elect.
And Mayor-elect is on the line as well. Good. Okay.
So that's everyone that's in the meeting is permitted to stay in. So right now I'm going to stop our live stream to Facebook.